All right, let's take a look at number 10. So the first question says, what's the vertex? So we're going to go ahead and use our formula for the x value of the vertex. So we're going to go ahead and substitute in 10 for the b. So negative b, so negative 10. And then over 2 times a. Well, the number in front of the x squared is always your a. And so since there's nothing there, there's really a 1 there. So our a is going to be 1 on this one. So that's going to be negative 10 divided by 2, which gets us negative 5 for the x value of our vertex. Now we're going to take that negative 5 and we're going to substitute it in for every single x. When you substitute in, don't forget to use parentheses. Just get in that habit of every time you substitute using a parentheses. Otherwise, you will end up, when you go to your calculator, getting the wrong answer. All right, so parentheses negative 5 squared plus 10 times negative 5, and then plus 9. Just double check really quickly everything I've typed. It looks like we're getting negative 16 for our y value. So we have our vertex of negative 5, negative 16. Let's go put it in. All right, let's see how we did. Nice. Okay. Now, part B wants us to determine whether it has a maximum or a minimum. So that comes down to the A, okay? Remember that we said that A equals 1. So if A equals 1, since it's positive, that implies that it's going to face up. So for an upwards facing parabola, it has a lowest point. In other words, it has a minimum. And remember, the minimum value is going to be part of the vertex, that's for sure. For some, in our case, it looks like this, right? This value is going to, if you trace it back, it's going to be a y value. So that's why we're going to take this negative 16 and type it in. That's going to be our minimum value, okay? So in our case, this would be negative 16. The parabola opens upward, so it has a minimum of negative 16. What is the range? So, part C. So remember the range, you have to go lowest to highest. Lowest, comma, highest. Well, we just got done saying the lowest on our graph was negative 16, right? Oh, by the way, I put some random symbols in here, but they could be square brackets, they could be parentheses. You just have to think, right? Okay, so the lowest on the graph is negative 16. Now, in order to figure out if we're going to be using parentheses or square brackets, we have to ask ourselves, is negative 16 on the graph? Well, it is on the graph. There's no open circle there, no hole there. So that means we have to use square brackets to include it. Now, the highest, well, we have these arrows on our graph, which means it's just going to keep going up forever. So the highest would be infinity, which means we need to use parentheses. Infinity never gets a square bracket. So square bracket on the 16, but then on the, and oops, I almost wrote negative infinity. But then on the infinity, make sure you use parentheses. The function is increasing on, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we have a graph over here, and we know that the function is increasing on this interval in red, okay? So that's going to be when it's increasing. So remember that this spot right here on the x-axis is negative 5, right? Looking at our vertex, the x value is negative 5. So that's going to mean that we're going to increase from negative 5, and it just keeps going. So we're going to be increasing from negative 5 to infinity. And those are both going to be parentheses. I don't want to put a square bracket on the negative 5 because right here is the vertex. And I can't say I'm increasing there. It's kind of where decreasing, right? Because over here we're decreasing right here. It's where decreasing meets up with increasing. So I can't include it and say, oh yeah, I'm increasing there. It's kind of where both meet up. So I'm going to have to put a parentheses on the increasing, okay? We might as well find when it's decreasing too while we're here. Okay, so the yellow, the decreasing, well, that's going to be, instead of positive infinity, that one's going to be from negative infinity all the way to -5. Again, don't include -5. It doesn't necessarily belong to the decreasing. It kind of belongs to both, so we can't really include it. Okay, so let's go type those in. So we said it's going to be increasing from -5 to infinity. And then we said that it's going to be decreasing from negative infinity to -5. All right, you guys. Nice. Okay. And it looks like, that was it for number 10. So it all comes down to the vertex. You'll notice everything that we used included the vertex, right? The minimum's the y value, right? The number that we used to change from increasing to decreasing, that was the x value of the vertex. So that vertex gives us so much information, right? Axis of symmetry, maximums and minimums, the range even, right? We use the y value to get the range. We use the x value to figure out when we switch from increasing to decreasing. So it's really important that we can find that vertex, and then having a picture says it all. So I always like to draw a picture to be able to really understand how to use this vertex to get all these answers. All right, you guys, good luck on your number 10. Thanks for joining me.